One. Hey everybody, this is Sandy Shaner and we are on for another episode of Live Music Happy Hour. Hey, how's everybody doing? Make sure you put your comments on the Facebook live feed. Also, be sure to send me over your questions so we can get them answered as best we can if we can fit them into the show. Tonight we have a great guitar edition. We have opening up the show, Taz Taylor. And then our headliner for today is Joel Hoekstra. Let's hear it for these guys. All right, so to give you a little bit of background in case it's the first time you're tuning in, why are we doing this? Well, I am the founder of a 501c3 nonprofit, and my work and my life is built around raising money for research for Mount Sinai Hospital. We are Carly's Cause, and we are a fundraising team that benefits them. They're currently doing research to find treatments and a cure for intellectual disability and autism. And right now my life's work has been put on hold. The main thing that I do when I am out there is I put on rock concerts and I get guys like this together and we jam and we expect you guys to come buy some tickets. But nothing's gonna happen until 2021. So in the meantime, we just want to make you happy. We want to bring this information to you for free. There's never a charge and never a pitch or any kind of sale going on here. We just want you to remember Carly's Cause and Mount Sinai Hospital through Groove Entertainment. And let's go ahead and get on with our show. Our opening act is Taz Taylor. Hey Taz, how you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Sandy?
I am doing just wonderful. You know why? Because it's Friday and I had a reason to just get my makeup on, get dressed, been excited all day. I get to hang out with musicians. It's what I do. So, you know, you've been around San Diego, Southern California. Actually, you've been all over the world, but when I've seen you, it's been in Southern California from Los Angeles to San Diego.
Yeah.
And you have been playing and opening for a lot of great acts. You put on one heck of a show.
Thank you.
But tell me a little bit about when it started.
Well, how far back do you want to go? I mean, I started playing guitar when I was about 13, you know, probably the average typical age that people, you know, suddenly get that thing. But I might offend a few people here, but I kind of drifted away from it right around 1991 when the scene changed kind of that much with Nirvana and all that kind of thing. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to be as much a part of that. It might seem to change my my direction and my goals in life. But that only lasted about 5 or 6 years, and then I just fell back into it really hard. And I just decided I wanted to be the best guitar player that I could be. And you know, not like from a competitive thing, not better than this guy, not the best guy in town, nothing like that, just the best that I could be. And I just embraced that. And that was, like I said, that was in 95. And that feeling has never gone away. I mean, I get up every day at the crack of noon and I play guitar all afternoon. And I just constantly work on it. And I moved from England to California in January 97. And finally got my band up and running, and I think 2004.
That's right. So I heard a clip from your Caffeine Racer album, and it was really good.
Thank you.
I noticed you have a very defined sound.
Okay.
You really do. You have it's a clean sound, and you do a lot of tricky stuff on your leads. You know, believe me, if you haven't seen Taz Taylor, he's someone to watch because he's extraordinary. It really is. Not everybody gets to make it to the big time, but there's a lot of talent out there with very unique skills and the attributes that they bring to the instrument. I haven't seen that before, and I am a rock fan. I live and breathe music. It's what I do all the time. So how do you get that sound on your guitar to where you're able to keep it nice and clean and polished and warm, and at the same time, it's heavy freaking metal. It's a unique tone. I love it. Tell me how you do that.
I'm going to say that's probably the hardest question to answer, and Joel will probably back me up on this later. But it's true because I get the same tone kind of whatever I use. The album that you're talking about, Caffeine Racer, I actually used the original pod, the Line 6 pod. I actually recorded that whole album with one of those,
I
and
have
then
Line 6.
and then I go to the stage and I plug into a PV60 6505 and 4x12 cab, and it pretty much it's the same sound. It pretty much just sounds the same. And I've toured using Marshalls, and I always worry about what the amp will be, and I plug into it and it sounds the same. I mean, so I guess that's just the way I sound.
It has to do with your fingers and your guitar, probably.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, I always play the same guitar. I mean, I play Gibson Explorers, which I'm completely and utterly addicted to, and I have no interest in trying any other guitar at this point. I mean, I have more than one. I have like a whole bunch of them, but I think just me and the Explorer, and that's it really. As long as I can get a medium kind of gain sound, not massively distorted, and then that's it. That's the tone. There's no magic.
right. So in the essence of time, I'm going to brush through a couple more questions, and then I want to show a video.
Okay.
So Welcome to America, that was your next album that you had released with Graham Bonnet, and you toured all over Europe. Just give us a little bit of a background on how you formed that relationship and what it was like touring.
It was funny. I looked at where I was in my career, and I thought, you know what? There's no difference between the people that are like next level than me. The only difference is they're doing it and I'm not. And I emailed 4 or 5 singers that I thought there's absolutely no way these guys will get back to me. But what if they did? And Graham Bonnet was one of them, and he emailed me back like the following day with his phone number. I called him, we chatted for like about 45 minutes, and then, as they say, the rest is history. We wrote the album. It came out on Escape Music in Europe, distributed by Frontiers, and in 2006, and it was one of the most successful records that Escape Music had in some years. And yeah, we toured all over Germany, Austria, Switzerland. We played in Vienna, Budapest, Prague, and we did that like two years. We toured for, well, not 2 years like continuously, but we toured for 2 summers. So,
and then your latest album, you said that you had on your website that you wanted to get back to doing what you love most, which is instrumental rock.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about that album and how we can view a copy of it online.
Yeah, you can get that Hats, Tats, and Guitars. I mean, you can buy it pretty much anywhere. If you're someone that still actually buys music, then you can buy it anywhere you would buy anything else. You can find it on Amazon. You can download it on iTunes. You can listen to it on Spotify. If you're a consumer that buys music, then you can buy ours. Hats, Tats, and Guitars. It's out there.
And how is it recording that album?
It was a lot of fun. It is only 8 songs. It's only just over a half-hour long. I grew up on vinyl records that were 35 minutes long, and to me that's my attention span. If I'm listening, I like an album to still feel like it has a beginning and a middle and an end, and that you're not just listening to the radio and it just keeps going and going.
Right.
But yeah, it was recorded at Blitz Recording. No, it wasn't. It was recorded at Double Time Studios in San Diego. We recorded the drums, bass, and rhythm guitars live, just threw down, and then the guitar solos and a little bit of keyboards were done a week later, on New Year's Day, actually. Last year, I actually went in on New Year's Day and I recorded all of the guitar solos in one day and the atmospheric keyboards on the same day. So the album was recorded like basically 3 days worth of recording.
Wow, that's pretty good. I spent way more of that than that, like countless hours in the studio.
Yeah, it was mixed by Mick Kiner then at 710 Studios, by Brick by Brick.
Yeah.
I spent more time in the studio mixing because that stuff drives me insane. But
yeah,
the actual recording was 3 days.
Would you be willing to put some tracks? All right, so I'm writing like crazy right now. It's because I'm not gigging. I usually gig every weekend, and I'm not, and so I'm just writing a whole bunch of stuff. And I want to know if you maybe guest spot on a song or two.
Oh, of course.
All right, I'm going to hook it up right here. I'm going to record it myself. Of course, I'm going to send it out for engineering, but I'm going to do all the recordings right here while I stay at home.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that is a dream come true is just getting a track and just putting a guitar solo on it and then just sending it back, because I I just love to play lead guitar. If I don't have, writing songs so that I can put a solo on them, that's a chore to me. I'd rather, if I could just put guitar solos on people's songs, I'd do that all day long.
Well, I'm a singer, so I have to write the song, the lyrics, the chord progression. I have to figure out all the harmonies. I got to figure out. I approach a song with a producer's ear, like all the things. All the things got to be in my head, and then once I hear them all in my head, I got to find people to play them.
Yeah.
I can't. But hey, you know what? We're going to show. Let's go ahead and show a little bit of Taz Taylor video, and when we come back from this video, Michelle Bailey's going to make us a drink. Good job. Let's see if they unmuted him. Oh, there we go. We're unmuted. Oh, that was wonderful. Good job.
Thank you. It's funny. I like just at the very end of that video, right before it goes up, you can hear my wife screaming in the front row.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, you know, we're going to have more time with Taz during Tech Talk. Before I go to Michelle Bailey, I just had a real quick question come in for me, which doesn't really happen. You guys get all the love, but this is kind of an important one. She says, this is my first meeting online with you and the artists you were talking with tonight. Can you please tell me a little bit more about what you're doing with Mount Sinai? Okay, so the research program at Mount Sinai is a mouse study, and they're looking for genetic connections to autism and intellectual disability. My daughter Carly, of Carly's Cause, has DDX3X, It's right there on my arm, if you could see that. Anyways, I put that on my arm because when I find treatment and a cure through all my life's work, I'm going to paint it black. But in the meantime, I'm dedicated to this because it affects her organs, her brain, her speech, her pretty much everything. And they're finding that these genetic connections are the root cause of autism and intellectual disability. So even if they just prolong her life and make her happier, you know, maybe they can do something bigger and better for the kids of the future. That's it. That's what Carly's Cause does. That's what the part of what Mount Sinai is doing that I'm behind. Hey, Michelle Bailey.
Hi guys.
Drink.
Happy Friday. Welcome to my garage edition of Full Circle Saloon. I don't know about you guys, but it was hot today in East County where I live. And so all I could really think about was a nice refreshing martini. So I'm going to make you a raspberry lemon drop. I already put some ice in my shaker. I try to find things at home that I have. I have Absolute Raspberry already at home. Since that's my only liquor in this, I'm going to do 2 ounces, which obviously you're at home and you're not driving, so you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm just showing you what we do at the bar. I'm going to do probably just about a 1/4 ounce or so of simple syrup. You don't have to do that if you don't like it super sweet. I like a mix of the sweet and the tart. So what I do now that my lemon tree is flourishing, I cut up a bunch of lemons and I'm going to squeeze a bunch of fresh lemons into the shaker because there's nothing better than fresh fruits. And I happen to have some pomegranate cranberry juice on hand, so I'm going to do a little splash of that. Again, you just do as much as you want for the sweetness or tartness that you want. We're going to go ahead and shake that up. Strain it out. And we are ready for our first cheers of this happy Friday. Everybody get their drinks? Cheers!
Mute. I guess no one heard me. Cheers. I was muted. Okay. That is really good beer. It is very hot here in San Diego, California right now. All right, so our next guest, our guest of honor, is Joel Hoekstra, and he is going to be unmuted. Okay, thank you, Ashley. He has emerged from Chicago, but currently is in New York City. It's a little bit later for him. We're like 6 o'clock hour. For him, it's 9 o'clock hour. So we're going to keep this show at an hour tonight. We're going to try our best, but we will get to your questions. So, all right. So Joel, the first time that I saw you, I mean, I saw a whole bunch of great performances there, but I remember you. This is when you came into my radar, was at a Randy Rhoads Remembered show back in 2015 with Brian Tishy. And it was, you know, I'm in Southern California and so is that show. So I just drove up there and attended, and you really made an impression on me because the first time I saw you, you were playing my hero's music. Like, wow, you know? And from that point on, I just started kind of watching some of the other stuff that you had done with Whitesnake when you came out. I've been seeing you all over the internet. You're working with Cher. Tell me a little bit about why you took that show at the Randy Rhoads Remembered, though. Did Randy have the same impact on you that he's had on so many guitar players, including myself, even though I'm not a lead guitar player?
So yeah, I did 3 of those. Brian Tishy, who runs it, is a great musician, great guy. So mainly because Brian asked me, to be honest, 100% honest. But Randy, for me, made an impact because he was, well, the first time I heard him was before I played guitar. So it tends to be those people that are special because you remember hearing the way they played before you understood what it was. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like years later, a lot of the mystique comes out of it when you understand exactly how things are recorded and what they're doing and how to make it sound certain ways. And at least for musicians, right? The more knowledge you get, the more the mystique kind of slips away. So Randy's always special because I listened to him, like getting the Blizzard of Oz cassette and Diary of a Madman. Blizzard of Oz was before I played. I think Diary of a Madman was after I had begun. But hearing Blizzard of Oz, you know, like I Don't Know and all that stuff before I played guitar was very cool. And also being somebody who had classical parents for musicians, yeah, I thought it was cool that he was using a little bit of the classical guitar in the, yeah, on the rock stuff, and so that made me rethink everything as far as like my thoughts on classical music. Like I couldn't get away from that soon enough. My parents had me doing that so young, and I just was like, get that. I now I want to be like Angus Young. And but then Randy kind of made me rethink that, right? So hearing like things like D and obviously Diary of a Madman and all the little classical themes that he would throw in really made me rethink and my thoughts on classical music and its value to rock.
That's awesome. I love everything that came out of the 80s that were similar to what Randy Rhoads did, and AC/DC, and of course Led Zeppelin. You know, my brothers, they set me down and had me listen to every single Led Zeppelin album, probably in one day. I mean, they really wanted me to like Led Zeppelin, and it worked because I've loved them. I love them for the rest of my life. So I was watching some videos of you online. I haven't seen you live since then, but you have some amazing guitars. Tell me a little bit about the custom Gibson Les Paul that you have. I like it. It's purple, it's glitter. It says
Oh, that one. Yeah. So, well,
girls, I get that.
when I joined Whitesnake, I had five made for me. I had two custom Les Pauls made where I had the Whitesnake emblem on a medallion like set into the body, and then Gibson came up with a snake stencil top. And so one is white and black, and the other is black and gold. And then I basically did the same thing with Strats because we were making the Purple album, and so Ritchie Blackmore was kind of notorious for using the Strat. So I thought, hey, I might as well get a Fender, put two of those medallions that I had made as well at a mint in the bodies, and just great USA Strats with the big headstocks like Ritchie Blackmore, and to go with the Les Pauls, but one black one, one white one. And then my friends at Atomic Guitars, which is a smaller company in Arizona, just really two guys, and they're just really ambitious, good dudes. They've made guitars for me for several things over the years, and they came up, they called me and said, "Hey, what about like a Les Paul with purple crystals on the top, Swarovski crystals, and we could do like a gold WS, like the Whitesnake WS." And I was like, "Wow, that's an amazing idea. If you guys want to go for it, knock yourselves out." And they came up really with the idea of finding the important dates in my life and using the astrological symbols on the
Yeah, I was going to
fingerboard.
ask about that.
I'm not an astrology guy like at all, like zero. So I don't even know which one's which on there, but it looked cool. When they showed it to me, it was like one of those things like, you know, Motley Crue thinking the two dots over the O with the U looked cool or whatever from the, you know, I was like, yeah, sure, that looks cool. I don't know. I don't know a thing about it, but sure.
Well, it definitely sounds good too. I'm not
It
just
really is. Yeah, it's not just an eye candy guitar. It's actually, I mean, it's an amazing looking guitar, but that actually is a really great playing and sounding guitar that they made. Those guys do great work. So yeah, very pleased with all of them actually. The Gibsons came out amazing, and so it was really kind of cool for me to begin Whitesnake having five guitars kind of specifically made for that gig. And that's just the way I kind of like to have a little differentiation between what guitars I use on specific gigs, so they become like identifiable with that. So to have guitars that were designated for playing in Whitesnake was nice for me. It still is because they're technically with their gear right now. They're not with me at home here. So it's nice for me to be able to still feel comfortable at home here with my gold top, which is really my number one guitar. It's always going to be the nearest and dearest to me. So I still have that at home, and but know when I go out with Whitesnake, I've got great guitars waiting for me, and it reduces the shipping across the country factor.
Well, okay, so you have different tones because you play with different bands, and when you listen to somebody's music and you take the tone into consideration, that's when you go through your list of guitars that you have and you match up your tones. How did you come up? Let's say, for example, when touring with Cher, that's a completely different tone than you would use with Whitesnake.
Yeah, every gig has its own story and its own set of factors that I guess shape the best decisions for it. And with Cher, I was subbing for somebody who had a rig and their guitars on the gig, and I used their guitars and their rig. A guitar player named Dave Barry, who's an amazing guitar player. He's played for Janet Jackson. He plays on The Voice right now, and so Dave was kind enough to have me sub for him, and they really loved his sounds. And so as Dave got busier with the voice and they wanted me to do the Cher gig a little more full time, I kind of was tasked with like having something that the production could own and sort of doing my best to simulate those sounds. So we took just a fractal Axe-Fx, and that was the first time I've ever used one of those units, a modeler, with a specific task rather than just like, hey, make a good sound. This was like, use an A/B foot switch, listen to his sound, go back and like literally try and recreate it. So it was an interesting task to have. And then at times I would change it up a little bit especially as time went by, to the way I liked it for the gig or whatever. But essentially they wanted me to copy his sounds. So that's all it really was, to be honest. And so like I said, everything has its own reason. And it's like going into TSO, I was really taking over for Alex Skolnick, who'd been there for a very long time. And so again, this is a production owned gear. So rather than rocking the boat and going, no, 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 here's what I want to use. And it was like, all right, what does Alex use? What's everybody used to? I kind of go with that over thinking about like, hey, man, this is exactly how I want things, because it tends to make everybody else comfortable, and it makes you rock the boat a little bit less. They're all kind of just happy you're there. You're not just saying like, changing everything up and making it sound completely different. It takes everybody out of their element. So those are usually the smart decisions to make. In terms of hanging on the gear. And with like Rock of Ages, that's something we started with amplifiers. And as time went by, when that show became evident we were going to run for a very long time, it was like you didn't have a guitar tech on that. And if anything went wrong with the amp or pedals on stage, you were like literally trying to fix it while actors are doing a scene. So, I mean, it was like really unsightly and like distracting. And so as time went by, we're like, look, let's just get the Axe-Fx. The majority of the time with Rock of Ages, the guitar sound was about that big in the house, and they'd take you for about the 10% of the time and crank you up and put you in people's faces. But quite frankly, it just wasn't worth it for the 10% of the time to worry about using amps and cabinets, as opposed to having a modeler where you could just rely on it every night to just plug in and go, that's going to be there. You're not going to have tubes go bad. And we did run over 6 years. So that's a long time to have tube amps running and assume that they're going to be good. So again, all the gigs have their own story. Now with Whitesnake, I use Friedman heads and use the fractal Axe-Fx only for the delay and reverb in the loop, and that's kind of the story there. So every gig has its own thing.
Awesome. So with Tran Siberian Orchestra, I always say that's where the great musicians go, because they put on one heck of a show and everybody is really tight. When you came in as a sub for Alex Skolnick, I didn't know that, but when you got there, who was it that you were lined up playing with that you liked?
Pretty much the same exact guys that are in the East Band right now. Dave Z unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, so Tony Dickinson has taken over for him, but really it's sort of the same band. Lucy Butler on keyboard too, kind of stepped away, and me and Kim came back. Mian was in the band before Lucy, so but yeah, it's the East Band, just all the people that I basically know and love. I've been doing the gig like 10 years now, so it's a fantastic gig to have. I always told Paul O'Neill, the founder and owner, before he passed away a couple of years ago on us as well, just that as the years go by, TSO gets more and more special, because you kind of see the rest of the music scene and the bands going in decline, like struggling to draw crowds, and TSO has actually been on the rise, amazingly enough.
The talent's incredible. Like, yeah,
it's incredible to be a part of. So it's an amazing feeling for me to again, when you look at gigs, you always have to think about what's the good stuff about it and what's the positive stuff. And with that, I mean, I get to hang out with my friends. I love all those guys in the band, and I love the fans too. We have a signing line every night, so it's like you get to know them as the years go by. And a lot of them are my friends now, and they bring you gifts in the signing line. It's like celebrating Christmas for like 2 straight months. It's really an amazing thing. And playing for 10,000 people a show in arenas is always an amazing thing. And a lot of the music I really, really like to play. So there's so much to enjoy about that. The production's ridiculously amazing. I mean, you could just put like anybody on stage and they'd look cool with all those lights and pyro and lasers and fog. And I mean, it's incredible. It's a spectacle. So for me to be a part of that is definitely, it's a huge blessing in my life.
Awesome. You know, everybody knows me as being a rocker, metaler, and definitely progressive rock. I like all things rock. But I do also, you know, I like groove and I like pop, and I, you know, you've done some shows with Cher. That's, you know, big pop production stuff right there. And she's just like the queen as far as I'm concerned. She never runs out of energy. She just keeps going year after year, more and more and more. I have a lot of respect for her. But how does it feel jamming on stage with her? I would love to be on stage with her. So I got to ask that. What's it like being on stage with Cher, with as much as she's accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely blessed to be able to do that. She's iconic, so I think, like, yeah, for the majority of the time, you're not holding as much weight as, like, say, in a normal band, right? Because you're kind of in the background on a bandstand for the bulk of the gig. But the step out moments that you do have all of a sudden become like incredibly hyper important because you're standing next to her and you're the only two people down front. So it's like, oh my gosh, now this is like, you know, so especially when she was out touring, doing arenas and stuff. And then that becomes a moment of like super heightened awareness and tension and stress and like, oh my God, please let everything go right. And don't let me become known as the guy who knocked over Cher on stage or something like that. You know, always trying to stay out of her way. She likes to do things different every show, so you never know. Like sometimes we wouldn't interact. I would just try to keep the stage symmetrical. So if she would go stage left, I'd go stage right. And but there were times then where all of a sudden she'd come right up and be singing to me, or, you know, so you never knew what to expect with that. So but again, like any of these things, blessed to have the opportunity. Only a fool would complain about something like that. So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, it's just great. We're going to go ahead and we're going to show a clip of a guitar solo that you did. Ashley, if you can get that queued up. And really nice work, really nice work. It shows a couple of the different sides of you as a guitar player. And for people that may be following Groove Entertainment that have not seen you yet, which we have, you know, close to 1,200 people that watch the show every week just on that one channel, and plus all the people that it's streaming out to elsewhere. By the way, you guys, if you could do me a favor and just share this, that'd be really cool. If everyone online could just share the Facebook feed to your feed, we'll get bigger and bigger. But you guys got to see this. Go ahead, Ashley, play this video. Am I unmuted? All right, I'm unmuted. Wow. See, this is why we got to go see you. Okay, so live music. We're kind of put on hold. I see you had a bunch of dates that you had, and just like everyone else, everything stopped. One question I would like to ask is when did you get the word that you were not going to be touring? Was it right?
We began the year. So we went down to Australia with the Scorpions and we did some dates down there, which actually got interrupted because Klaus Meine had kidney stones. So it was like we were kind of in a holding pattern waiting to play the Sydney show and got that done. And then we played Indonesia together and then we went to Singapore and that ended up being the last show that we got done. And then we kind of got word there that we were not going to go to Japan. We were supposed to go to Japan on our own to do, I think, a little over 2 weeks. And then it was like, no, you're heading home because of this. And then by the time we got back to the States, it was worse here than it was in Japan, amazingly enough. So it was just that quickly that it escalated. So yeah, and ever since then, it's just been bad news, bad news, bad news. But it's like, there's nothing to do but make the best of it. And I've just been doing sessions and Skype lessons and working on my album that I'm working on. I think we'll talk about later maybe, but just keeping busy, staying productive.
Yeah, so you're really a great songwriter too. And, that's something that I did for many years. I gave it my all and I didn't really go that far. And then I just put together various cover bands, tribute bands, whatever, gigging bands. I went out and made a bunch of money playing music, right? That's what I did. I just went out and got us out in casinos and stuff. Picked up a lot of different skills and I'm just starting to write again, realizing, wow, I don't miss fighting and clawing, but I miss playing my own music, right?
Well, I mean, really, you and I the plans aren't that different. It's like Ty said, and so like, or Taz, sorry. It's not like it's the difference between the people that are playing in cover bands aren't that different than what I'm doing in a sense. I mean, I didn't found any of these bands we're talking about, so it's like I'm playing music for the most part as creative. I mean, having the opportunity to do the last album with Whitesnake and do some of the writing with David was fantastic, but yeah, again, I'm never judgmental about that stuff. I think the more people can play music for a living and be able to get out there, the better in any capacity. So I'm still in that same world in many, many ways. I mean, being able to any opportunity to get better and actually get paid for it, that's what I'm down for. And because that's what we're all here to do. I mean, you want to play music, so. Again, yeah, I think I understand. Like if I had to just make my albums and have that pay the bills, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to think how like I'd be eating like ramen noodles if that. Ramen noodles would be deluxe. I don't know how I'd be doing it, man. You got to be able to be out touring and you know what? I haven't been even 1% unhappy with any of it. I love every opportunity I've got to have with touring, and even if it's playing in bands that are other people's technically, it's still awesome. Not one complaint from me, man.
Well, that's how I get away. Okay, so I said I have a child who has TDX3X. It's a copy of her X gene is mutated, which affects 10 different major illnesses, right? So I'm 100% full on great mom, and I own 2 companies, and Groove Entertainment is one of them. Carly's Cause is the other. And then what I do when the work week's over is I go play, and I don't like to have a week without a gig, and they're talking a year without a gig, So what are we going to do? We're going to write and we're going to record, and I want to put out finally all the pieces are coming to me every time I sit down, and I'm putting out some really good stuff, heavily influenced by Richie Kotzen and his songwriting styles, because he writes so much. I listen to Richie and then I turn him off, and then I just pick up my guitar
and then you play. That's
a
great way to do it. Yeah.
He channels in my head, man. The guy is amazing, and he's got 200 or 300 songs for me to listen to. So I'm not, I'm always listening to something new to me by Richie Kotzen. But you've got to be going through some of that yourself, because you're a working musician. You're a working musician. There's different types of musicians, and now you have all this time. You said you're probably recording with Whitesnake, but are you writing too? I mean, you got to have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right now. I'm doing the guitarist for the next Joel Hoekstra's 13,
Okay.
which is I hate to refer to myself in the third person, but that's the name of my side project, my rock side project. Because I have 3 solo albums out under my name that are kind of just like, they're instrumental and it's all about the guitar. And then this Joel Hoekstra's 13 album I put out in 2015 called Dying to Live kind of just sounds like band music, which is what I wanted to write, because I've been in that world and I've kind of done the instrumental stuff was really adventurous. And honestly, most of the fans that got to know me in Night Ranger or Rock of Ages or Whitesnake or TSO, they're like, dude, where's the rock stuff? Where's your solo rock stuff? So I wanted to make a rock album. And so I gave that its own name because I thought it didn't sound like a solo album, if that makes sense. So I'm doing a follow-up to that right now. I don't have a release date exactly yet, but it's very close to being officially done, like tracked. And then I just need to do Taz's favorite step in the mixing, which drives me crazy too. But I drive the engineers crazy. I just keep sending notes upon notes upon notes upon notes, and then they want to just kill me.
Well, so I can't wait to hear it. And if you want to come and perform live anywhere in San Diego, I can get you hooked up with all the best clubs.
Cool. Well, I love San Diego. What
like,
a great,
yeah.
What a great city, man. I love San Diego. So beautiful there. Yeah.
Sell out. Our venues are small. We're not LA. We're not LA, but you know what? The people are so die hard. It's crazy. The music scene here is really warm and wonderful. But if you were to come to town, I could probably help you sell 700 or 800 tickets. I'll work on that. Just give me a call. So we're going to show a video of Scream, right? And I want people to check this out, because this song, and actually all the songs that I saw they're just that production model of exactly what you're out there playing, but you wrote it. And you produced it, and you figured out all the different parts. And I think that it is going to be like this next thing that's going to come out after this. I can't wait to see your next album. Ashley, can you cue up that video, please?
It'll be such a fun ride. I'd say you just can't deny. You are the cause overflowing with flaws, and you best not forget till you die. To live, and I will hear you scream. I wanna hear you scream. Place you in a never-ending spiral of psychopathic dreams. Green. Now I've got the means to shape a dark reality. You'll die to hide and die. Yeah, I will hear you scream. Yeah.
That's a hit song. It is a hit song. That's some great writing. And Vinny Appice and Jeff Scott Soto on there with you. Amazing. So something, I can't wait to hear the next album that you release. And I'm putting together budgets right now for a New York concert. I am. It's for Mount Sinai, but the artists will get paid their fee. So I'm putting together, I'm going to be back in touch with you because, man, that's a headliner right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Come on, Taz, that song kicked butt.
Yeah.
I can't cuss.
Oh,
No kidding, right?
Thanks, Taz. Hey, you sounded amazing on your clip too, bro. And I know
Thank you.
Yeah, that Gibson tone, man, no matter what. I mean, it might be you and it might be but that Gibson thing, you can't beat the Gibson thing.
Thank you. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I've got like 10 of them, so.
Yeah.
and I'm on a smaller budget than you, so obviously I'm extremely dedicated to the Gibson brand.
Beautiful, man. No, well, me too, brother. I mean, Gibson's where it's at, man, for me.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well,
Hey, I got to say on the clip that you saw earlier of you, in the end section, it was like it reminded me of like the first time I saw Nuno Bettencourt play "Get the Funk Out,"
Mhm.
and it's like he took like Eruption to a whole new level. And in that last section that you were doing on the tapping, it was like Eruption meets Get the Funk Out meets Joel Hoekstra. That was absolutely amazing. I'd never
thanks.
seen that clip before.
Thanks so much, bro.
Yeah.
So we have some questions that were emailed in first, and I told people if they email their questions in first that they would get first dibs at you.
Okay.
So we're going to go to Tech Talk after this, but I want to get these Q&As in. So
Okay.
in an interview a few years ago, Anne Marie Fassler, she said in an interview a few years ago, you mentioned that you played bass while touring with the Turtles. Are there any particular bass players that you find inspiring?
Oh man, that's a tough one because I don't want to leave anybody out. So I mean, there's a lot of great ones. I mean, I love what Tony Franklin is doing on my records that he was just in the video that we watched and what he played on this upcoming one. Tony's a really great bass player. I love Michael Devin and Whitesnake is a great rock bass player. Man, I mean, there's a long list. You mentioned Evan Billy Sheehan on this show. I think Billy's an amazing bass player, and I think the standard fare for rock bass players, but sometimes it's the guys who just lay it down a little simpler too that are really amazing as well. So it can be, there's a long list. I love Rush. I grew up on Rush, so got to throw Geddy in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And then from Jennifer Shepard, she says, Hey Joel, glad to see you on tonight. Any planned release date on the follow-up to Dying to Live? Until I Left You is one of my favorite tracks. And will this album have similar sound with Jeff and Russell?
So I don't have a release date yet. I mean, just to letting everybody know where it's at. I'm just kind of I'm working on the leads. I did my basic rhythms, so drums, bass, keyboards are all done. Waiting on a few tracks yet of lead vocal, and then right now I'm not exactly sure if Russell Allen is going to do all of the lead on it, or if there's going to be a few tracks that are somebody else yet. I'm not quite sure, but Russell Allen is doing the majority of the lead vocals on it, and Scott Soto's been cool helping me out with doing the backgrounds on it. He's overqualified, but he's really, really great at it.
Yeah.
And just because he and I have worked together for so long, and he knows I'll tell everybody he's overqualified, he's willing to do it. I think it's just because we're friends. You know, he just helps me out with it. He's not going to tell me, like, no way, dude, I'm not going to do that for you. So, but that's kind of the plan right now. And I'm getting close to, I don't know exactly how long it'll take to mix it, but as I said to earlier, I'm like, Taz and I sound like we're the same. I can be endless with that. I can feel it holds me up. So.
Well, we did have Simon Phillips on last week, and
amazing player.
He's an amazing producer.
Yeah.
And engineer. So there you go. There's another idea. Okay, so this is from Lauren Bell, and it says, does Joel have any tips for someone who's asked to do a rhythm groove for 60 seconds for an audition? I'm struggling to put one together for my audition, and I could use some tips.
Well, it's hard to be totally specific about. I mean, I would definitely have a drum machine going or some kind of groove going when you do that, so you're not just playing in the clear. So I think definitely having something going would be a big part of that. As far as laying back and being in time, I mean, it's often a struggle for guitar players not to push ahead of the beat, so try to relax and play as relaxed as possible. Tap your foot. If you can, try and tap your foot only on the 2 and the 4. That allows your rhythm to swing a little bit better, as opposed to tapping on the every 1, 2, 3, 4 can kind of tend to push you ahead. You're always anticipating the 1 and kind of leaning forward. Guitar players tend to play ahead of drummers. That's just what we do. But it helps us to lay back if you tap on 2 and 4 only. It takes a lot of that urgency, and it helps you to really feel back in the pocket.
I'm going to have to apply that too. Thank you. Okay, so this is the portion where we bring Michelle Bailey back on. She does our second drink while we get set up for Tech Talk. So you know what Tech Talk is we have a guest, Keith Moreland, who is with Pet Shark. He was on previous shows with Mike Keneally. He's just going to pop in because he's really has a lot of respect for Joel and is good friends with Taz. So they're going to do some tech talk about guitar, and it's going to be like a quick 5 to 10 minute talk about gear, technique, and stuff like that. It's guy stuff. I'll stay out of it. Hey, Michelle Bailey, can you make us a drink?
I sure can. Probably about 4 weeks, like 3-4 weeks since I've done it. The chocolate raspberry martini. So it's a bit decadent, a little bit like a dessert one. I already put some ice in my shaker. I'm going to use the absolute raspberry again. And since it's all booze, so we're not driving, but I'm going to do about 1.5 ounces of the absolute raz. And then I'm going to use a local, brand new local chocolate whiskey called 8 Ball Whiskey. And I'm going to do about 1/2 to 3/4 of that, because you don't want the chocolate to overpower the raspberry. You want to taste that raspberry. And then just for like a little density, I'm going to do about 1/4 to 1/2 ounce of Bailey's. And we are going to shake that up. And while I'm doing this, I just want to say really quickly, it's been an honor to be on the screen with you guys. Taz, it's always great to see you. Joel, nice to meet you. Sandy, thanks as always. I just want to say a huge shout out to our local support system that we have here. We're doing fundraiser t-shirts I'm doing them for my staff, and we're 15 shirts away from 300 in less than a month. So thank you guys so much for your support. Please keep supporting local. I appreciate you. If everybody wants to grab their glasses, we'll do our last cheers with me. Everybody, cheers. And thank you guys so much, really.
All right. And the final portion of our show is Tech Talk. We're going to go ahead. We bring back Keith Moreland, who is the guitar player for.
What's happening, guys?
What's happening, Keith? How's it going?
Good, Joel. Taz, love you, brother. Love you, Sandy. And so, Joel, I got a quick question for you. Then, kind of related to technique and tech and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned Randy Rhoads, as one of your influences growing up, and obviously your right hand technique is just off the charts. I've gone on YouTube and watched some of your video lessons and applied those myself, although not nearly as fluid with the right hand as you. But today, at this stage in your life and your career, who now, like, name a couple of guitar players that when you get the chance to go see them, that you can't wait to walk in there and you walk away just like either learning something or it leaves an emotional imprint on you as a guitarist yourself?
Yeah, there's so many, man. It's really hard for me to name a couple. I mean, just moments that I've had in recent years. I guess going to see David Gilmour play at the Garden was really amazing a couple years ago. Just kind of taking things back instead of like the guy pushing the envelope playing like 9 million styles with 9 million notes, just to hear a guy play 4 notes and have them be the best 4 notes you ever heard in your life.
Right on.
So Gilmour would have to be there. I think Tommy Emmanuel's like completely amazing.
Oh, wow.
For those that haven't checked him out. He's not necessarily like a hard rock guy, but he's just an amazing guitar player. And I would encourage people to check out my friend Brett Garsed, who I think is one of the best guitar players in the world. And just, especially his slide playing is just so amazing. And Derek Trucks, for that matter, with slide is always inspiring. It's a really long list of guys, man. I mean, I could go through basically everybody who's been in Whitesnake too, and really and count them as people that I admire. And that's what happens as you get gigs and people you work with or people that have had the gig prior to you is you like do a little extra research on them, and so you end up becoming influenced by them. And Reb, I mean, working with Reb's an amazing guitar player.
Sure.
So it's a really long list for me, man, and it's really hard to narrow it down. And when people ask me for like a top 5, it's almost like, dude, it's really hard.
Sure, and that's an eclectic list. I like hearing that.
Trevor Rabin is really amazing, like as far as like his sounds in the studio, and just I love his singing too. It's funny how some of my favorite singers are actually guitar players. Like David Gilmour's voice for me is really like amazing as well. Like I just love his singing. And so there's, again, dude, super long list. So many people I respect, and it's just a matter of I guess taking in as many influences as you can. I don't obsess like I did when I was younger. When I was younger, I'd find somebody I dug and I just listen. It's fine. I guess the older you get, it's more like I can really, really admire somebody, but I'll usually only really admire them for about 5 minutes.
I got you.
And it's like, okay, now I'm off to do something in life. But
sure. Taz, what kind of pickups are you putting in your Gibsons these days, man? Because that tone is so crazy.
The same as always. They're the pickups that were always stock in Explorers, which is the 496R in the front and the 500T in the back. I guess now Gibson changes that every year. They have the burst book of this and the burst book of that. But even if I bought like a 2020 Explorer today, I would just take those pickups out and put the 496 and the 500 in.
Yeah.
I've just seriously, I've just stayed with the ones those are the pickups they always had in Explorers up until like the last few years. and I've got those on all my guitars.
Yeah, and for anyone that hasn't heard Taz live, his tone live is every bit as good as the album, if not better. He's
Thank you.
just sings. It's fantastic.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And yours too.
Oh,
And you're using that, what is it, RPG 1000 or whatever?
yeah, I was doing the modeling
I'm
thing.
so jealous that you can carry that thing around in one hand and then have that tone on stage.
Yeah, Joel was talking about that. You know, I used to drag around a really nice, Mesa rig and with dual cabinets and everything, and then the tubes, and then transformers and just different capacitors and all these things. I couldn't keep up with the maintenance and tried the modeling thing once and just said, this works. It's fine. I feel good about it. So
Yeah. I think when it comes to tube amps, I've been lucky because I've been using the same two PV heads since 2008, and I haven't done anything to them in that whole entire time.
oh wow.
And I should mention Quilter amps. I don't know if anyone's heard of Quilter amps up in Orange County. I just got an endorsement deal with them, and I'm using a brand new Quilter. And I just started using it for about a month in rehearsals, and then did one show at the Coach House, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, all the bars and restaurants got closed 2 days after that show.
Yeah.
So I've gotten the opportunity to use it one time. But it's a 1x12 combo that's like 14 inches by 14 inches, one 12-inch speaker. It's solid state, and it sounds exactly the same as my PV half stack.
Can't wait to hear it.
Doesn't sound any different at all.
Great.
But only got to use it one time, and then everything got shut down. So
Yeah, it's been
Too much tone for society, man.
yeah, it was my fault, right? I shut everything down.
They needed to shut everything down, man. They're like, that's it.
Yeah.
I have another couple of questions. I don't know. All right, so let's see. Joel, how do you juggle all of your projects that you do?
Well, there's not much to juggle right now.
That's a good answer.
Last year was a very challenging year. I was on the road of 285 days last year. So that was definitely challenging between it all. David Coverdale's really great about trying to help me be able to do TSO come November, December. And Cher was really great about allowing me to be able to play with David and with TSO. And so them all kind of working together really helped me have a great year last year. This year is obviously its own thing. Who knows how it's going to end up, man. So yeah, it usually comes down to the understanding of my employers. And I guess it just really helps to let people know that you value being there and value their gig. And you're just trying to express that to them, and not in any kind of disingenuous way, but just to let them know where you're at and the fact that you do value it. And I think everybody does understand that I play with. I know David knows how much I love being in Whitesnake and being a part of it. So I don't think he ever feels threatened by me going off and doing TSO or even playing a show with Cher or whatever. So.
And then, okay, I don't understand that question. I won't ask it. So Gianna West, who asked that question, said, Joel, I'm just a huge fan. All right,
Awesome.
So I'll let you guys have maybe one more between Taz. Did you have any questions for Joel on Tech Talk or Technique?
Wow, I guess I probably should.
Dude, no, you're doing just fine, bro. you don't need any help.
Well, with that, I'll take it then. I'll take that.
Yeah. Sounds great, man. You sounded killer on your clip, dude.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. Sounded very killer. So
Thank you.
Don't worry about it, man. It's I don't want to drag you down to my level.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Yeah, I'm speechless. I have nothing. I have no more speech.
Okay, all right.
I'm without words.
Ashley, do we have any other questions on the feed? I'm trying to find it right now. I think we may be done with questions and answers. Let's see if Ashley sent me a message. Okay, all good. All right. So we have now come to the point where we are done with our show. We ran a little bit over. I'm sorry about that, Joel. We went 8 minutes past.
No worries.
I
No
know
worries
you've
at
got
all.
a family that you are juggling during quarantine and then trying to get your recording in at night, right? We're all doing
Yes.
kind of the same thing. So I want to thank you for taking your time out to be with us. And then I'm going to stay in touch with you. Concert, New York City. That's coming for Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai
Okay.
right there, right? And it's in your hometown, and maybe you can squeeze in for your business and get you coming up with your original band. And
Awesome.
it's really, really awesome music. Thank you, Taz, for coming on. Thank you, Michelle Bailey. And thank you, Keith, for coming on and participating in Tech Talk. Ashley, cue up our song. All right, everybody, it's been another great night of live music happy hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you back here on Wednesday. We have a local edition plus a very special guest that I will announce online 48 hours before the show. That's when I announce who's on. All right, everyone have a great night.
Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sandy.
Mhm.
See you, Taz.
See you, Joel.
See you, Keith. Bye,
See
Michelle.
you, Joel.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy. As I was just gonna say.
Woo, there it is. All right, good night, everybody. Woo! Good night.
Good night.
Good night, you guys. Thank you, Sandy.
That's great.